Have you ever wondered why some women, without even trying, seem to captivate others in ways that are hard to explain? They are not loud. They don't seek to impress. Yet their presence makes the air quieter, deeper, as if an invisible energy field surrounds them. They don't need to speak, because their energy itself is the language. Carl Jung believed that there are souls that carry a higher frequency, not because they are more perfect, but because they have touched the deepest layers of themselves. Such women do not seek power, but radiate strength from inner understanding. They don't try to attract anyone, yet others feel drawn to them because they emit the very energy the world is starving for: truth, peace, and presence. In today's video, we'll explore 5 invisible imprints of women with high spiritual energy, qualities that cannot be measured or imitated, yet can be felt by the soul. This is not merely about recognizing hidden strength within you, but an invitation to live at your highest energetic frequency, where you no longer need to prove anything, because you already are it. Are you ready to listen to the language of energy? Number 1. The gift of energetic sensitivity, when energy becomes language. There are women who don't need to speak much, yet when they walk into a room, the atmosphere shifts. Everything grows quieter, deeper, as if another frequency has just entered. No one knows exactly why, only that in her presence, people feel themselves soften. She doesn't attract through words or looks, but through energy. She doesn't just hear words, she hears vibrations. She doesn't just see faces, she sees souls, the frequency behind every glance. Carl Jung called this the superior feeling function, when emotion is no longer an instinctive reaction, but a form of perception. For most people, emotion means, I like this, I'm scared, I'm sad. But for her, emotion is a compass, a language the soul uses to communicate with the world. When she enters a space, she can sense whether the energy is pure or toxic. When someone lies, her chest tightens. When someone speaks with sincerity, she feels warmth in her heart. She perceives what others don't say, because energy cannot pretend. A friend once told me about a woman like that. During a company meeting, while everyone was debating, she simply looked around and softly said, "Something feels off." No one understood, but a few weeks later, that project collapsed because of dishonesty within the team. That's when I realized, he said, she wasn't judging, she was feeling. Women like that seem to have an invisible radar, not to control, but to understand. Modern society often glorifies intellect, yet Jung once said, "The heart has its own intelligence which the mind cannot comprehend." Spiritually attuned, women are living proof. They read the world through sensation, not data. When entering a relationship, they don't need promises. They feel whether the energy is real or fake. When meeting someone, they sense if that person is at peace or running from themselves. When a loved one is sad but silent, she still feels it, in the air, in the heartbeat, in the eyes that avoid hers. But every gift has a price. The price of sensitivity is solitude. Because when you feel too much, you tire easily. This woman doesn't just hear what others say, she hears what they cannot admit. It becomes power when she learns to master it. Otherwise, she can easily be swept away by the energy of others, like a white cloth absorbing every color. She must learn to stand still within herself, so she isn't shaken by external emotion. Only when she's still enough can she hear the deepest sound, the voice of her soul. And that is where her silent healing power lies. Many don't understand why they feel calm around her. It's not because she tries to comfort them, but because her energy is steady and pure. That peace radiates like an invisible wave, lowering people's defenses and bringing them closer to themselves. However, reaching that point wasn't easy. She had to move through the stages of believing she was too weak, too emotional, too different. But then she realized sensitivity is not weakness. It's the gateway to awakening. When she stopped trying to shut off her feelings and began to listen instead, she discovered that her soul had been speaking through each beat of emotion. And one day, she looked around and realized that everything was speaking to her. The wind, the scent of flowers, the light, even silence itself. Each was a subtle message, and she understood that meaning doesn't need to be found elsewhere. Life has always been meaningful. You just need stillness to feel it. That's when she understood. Energy is the language of the soul. Not everyone speaks it, but anyone can hear it if they learn to be silent. And if you're listening now, perhaps your soul already knows that language. Maybe you've been called too sensitive, too emotional, or too intense. But remember, that's not a flaw, it's a sign that you carry the first gift of an awakened soul, the gift of energetic sensitivity. Cherish this gift, even when it makes you tired, different, or lonely. Because only when you understand energy do you truly understand people. And when you listen with your soul, you don't just live, you awaken. That is the beginning of the spiritual journey, the moment you realize that your sensitivity is not a burden, but the sacred language of your soul. And you, have you ever felt someone's energy before? A gaze that made you feel peaceful, or a room that suddenly felt heavy even when no one said a word. Or perhaps you are the one who carries that gift, the one who softens spaces simply by existing. Write your experience in the comments, because your story might be the message that awakens another soul learning to listen to itself. Number 2, the alchemy of suffering, turning pain into gold. When perception deepens, the woman with high spiritual energy does not only see light, she also touches darkness. For the sensitive soul cannot selectively feel. It feels everything: joy, fear, wounds, and even the nameless voids. And because of that, the journey of a spiritually attuned woman is never only one of peace, but one of transformation, where every pain becomes an invitation to descend into deeper layers of the soul. Carl Jung called this process the transcendent function, the reconciliation of two opposites that gives birth to a higher level of consciousness. She doesn't avoid pain or deny darkness. She walks through it like a spiritual alchemist, one who knows that within every agony lies a hidden treasure waiting to be unearthed, a fragment of the soul that has never been illuminated. I once heard the story of Sarah, a photographer from London. She lost the man she loved in a car accident shortly after they got engaged. For months, she couldn't touch her camera. Everything reminded her of him. But one autumn morning, she picked it up and pointed the lens at the crack in her window, where sunlight streamed through like a thin current of water. "That moment," she said, I realized that light can still pass through the crack. Her photo series, Through the Broken Glass, was later exhibited around the world. But the true miracle was not fame. It was that she had turned loss into art, pain into light. Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." It is in darkness that we are forced to see what we've denied, to face the fragments we thought could never fit together again. And when this woman dares to sit with her pain, she realizes a profound truth. Darkness does not come to destroy her, it comes to show her who she really is. Not as a victim, but as a soul being reborn. In Greek mythology, Persephone is the goddess of spring, but also the queen of the underworld. The myth tells that she was taken by Hades into the dark realm, and only after she tasted the pomegranate, symbol of life and death intertwined, was she allowed to return to the surface. But since then, every year she must return to the underworld once more, so that the earth may bloom again. Persephone's story is not just about life and death, it's about rebirth through darkness. The woman with high spiritual energy is like that. She no longer sees pain as an enemy, but as a guide. When loss comes, she doesn't rush to ask, "Why me?" but quietly asks, "What is this trying to teach me?" When her heart breaks, she doesn't build higher walls. She learns to love deeper, with more awareness. She understands that every wound doesn't come to weaken her, but to teach her to see through the eyes of closer to her truest self. And each time she crosses one, she becomes softer, deeper, and paradoxically, more radiant. She begins to understand that light is not something we find, it's something born from the fragments we once feared to face. The Bible says, "He gives beauty for ashes." Perhaps that is the miracle of the feminine soul, its ability to turn ruins into beauty, tears into prayers, scars into light. Because within the deepest structure of woman lies the energy of rebirth. She gives life, not only through her body, but through her spirit. If you've ever lost something so deeply that your world collapsed, yet still chose to stand up, to believe in love, to keep your heart soft. Know that you are walking the path of chosen souls. For only the brave dare to let themselves melt, so they may be reborn in purer form. Pain is the furnace of the soul, and the woman with true spiritual power does not run from the fire. She walks into it, heart open, to turn ashes into gold. Number 3. Loneliness as a sacred ritual. After walking through the depths of pain, the woman with high spiritual energy begins to understand. Healing doesn't come from finding someone to fill the emptiness, but from daring to stay with it. Gradually, she learns to remain still after the storm, where loneliness is no longer an enemy, but a sacred ritual through which the soul is reborn. Carl Jung once said, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you." She realizes that true loneliness is not when there's no one beside you. It's when you can't express what your soul longs for. When everything external fades, the noise, the relationships, the expectations, even the attention of others, what remains is her naked being, without roles or masks. Many fear this because in silence you can no longer hide. But she knows it is within solitude that consciousness is reordered and the soul begins to speak in its true voice. The modern world has forgotten the sacredness of solitude. Every silence is filled with notifications, messages, and scrolling. We are taught to stay connected, as if quiet means abandonment. But to the woman with high spiritual intelligence, silence is sacred. It isn't emptiness, it's the laboratory of the soul, where the scattered pieces of the psyche settle and reconnect into wholeness. When she sits still, contradictions start to make sense. She sees why she reacted the way she did, why certain fears exist, and which voice truly belongs to her. In a Jungian therapy session, I once met a woman named Eleanor, a creative director at a fashion house in Paris. After years in a high-pressure environment, she collapsed into burnout. Instead of recharging through vacations or parties, she spent 3 months in a small house in the south of France. No internet, no phone. The first week was terrifying, she said. I felt lost, unwanted, forgotten. But after days of hearing only wind and her heartbeat, she realized something profound. I have been living as a reaction to the world, not from myself. Those 3 months didn't make her stronger in the social sense, but they made her deeper. When she returned to work, she spoke slower, chose more intentionally, and strangely, her team became more harmonious than ever. Neuroscientists have found that in conscious solitude, when one chooses to be alone rather than isolated, the brain activates the default mode network, the region responsible for self-awareness and creativity. Only when you step away from the world's noise can your brain process information more deeply, connecting ideas and emotions in ways impossible under constant stimulation. Jung observed the same. Only when a person withdraws into their inner cave can they truly converse with the unconscious, the deepest and most authentic part of the psyche. The spiritually attuned woman feels this instinctively. She doesn't fear withdrawal, knowing it's part of the cycle of renewal. After giving too much, love, empathy, energy, she must retreat to cleanse herself. For her, solitude isn't withdrawal from the world, it's returning to her source. She listens to her heartbeats, watches thoughts come and go, and realizes nothing needs to be controlled, only seen. Outsiders might label her cold or distant, but she's merely returning to her origin. She knows that without protecting her stillness, she'll lose herself. In solitude, she learns not to be governed by others' voices. She doesn't need to react to prove her worth. She doesn't need approval to exist. Silence shows her the boundary between who I am and who they think I am. This solitude isn't a phase, it's a ritual. Each time she enters silence, she performs an inner pilgrimage. She lets social identities dissolve, daughter, lover, mother, friend, until only the soul remains, without titles, without expectations. She faces the fears she once avoided, fear of being forgotten, of meaninglessness, of not being enough. But instead of banishing them, she lets them speak, until they dissolve. The longer she sits with them, the less power they hold. She no longer seeks to be understood, because she knows true understanding is not through language. Version of you. Leave one word in the comments. Still, so I'll know you too are walking this sacred path of souls learning to grow through solitude. Number 4, the healing power of presence. The moment a woman learns to walk through darkness and rest in silence, something miraculous happens. Her energy changes. No longer swinging between extremes of pain and light, she becomes steady, like a calm lake reflecting the sky. That steadiness is the deepest healing energy a human soul can radiate. Carl Jung called this therapeutic presence, the healing quality that arises not from techniques, but from being in harmony between consciousness and the unconscious, between mind and soul. Jung believed that a true healer doesn't try to fix others. He wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." Today's world is full of healers, those who teach meditation, self-love, detachment. But healing doesn't reside in technique, it resides in energy quality. A truly peaceful heart heals simply by beating. A mind that no longer fights spreads silence like fragrance. This woman doesn't say, "Be calm," she is calm. She doesn't tell others to love themselves. She embodies love. That's why her presence is a living lesson for all who seek the sacred outside themselves. In a world where everyone wants to inspire, she chooses to hold space. When someone speaks of pain, she doesn't rush to comfort. She listens with her heart. When someone shares a dream, she doesn't interrupt. She listens with warm eyes. When someone rages, she doesn't withdraw. She stays grounded. And that simple act of staying Light never argues with darkness, it just exists, and darkness fades. If I had to describe her with one image, she would be a candle in an ancient temple. Not loud, not dazzling, but warm enough to help others see their path. When the lost wander in, they don't need instruction, they just need to stand a moment in that light, and their soul begins to remember the way home. Science calls this resonance, when stable frequencies cause chaotic ones to harmonize. Human souls work the same. A calm person can soothe an entire room because their energy is stronger than words. This woman heals not because she knows much, but because she has met herself deeply. She has sat with pain, walked through darkness, and made peace with solitude. So now she isn't afraid to see those things in others. She sees wounds, but doesn't react. She hears anger, but doesn't judge. That lack of resistance is the true healing energy. People leave her presence without knowing why they feel lighter, but their souls know they've been touched by a rare frequency, the frequency of pure presence. Jung once wrote, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people." She knows her shadows, so she's not afraid of anyone else's. She doesn't tell others to be positive, because she knows light isn't born from denial, but from facing darkness with love. Those who've met her often say the same thing. I don't know what she did, but being near her, I felt myself again. And that's what Jung called individuation contagion, the ripple effect of inner wholeness. One person who has met their true self unconsciously invites others to do the same. She doesn't talk much about spirituality, she lives it. She doesn't preach peace, she is peace. And that's why her energy heals more than any advice ever could. If you've ever met someone who made you feel calm for no reason, perhaps you've met such a soul. They don't bring light, they are light, simple, humble, and eternal. And if you're becoming such a person, remember, healing doesn't begin when you help others. but when you have the courage to stay with yourself until your very energy becomes a silent prayer. If this part made you feel something, a stillness, a vibration, or just a moment of peace in your heart, and the woman with high spiritual energy has opened those eyes. One viewer once shared a story that changed her entire view of life. After losing both her relationship and job, she fell into exhaustion. Instead of rushing to find new work, she spent weeks meditating, journaling, and walking every morning. One day, sitting in a cafe, she wrote, "I am ready to begin a new journey, trusting that I am being guided." At that very moment, the cafe owner, a stranger, approached and said, "My company is looking for a product photographer. Are you interested?" She smiled, not at the coincidence, but at the universe's reply. That's how synchronicity works, not as magic from outside, but as a reflection of your inner world. When your energy stabilizes, life stops being a collection of accidents. It becomes a mirror of your soul. This woman no longer struggles to achieve. She doesn't beg the universe to bless her because she understands she is part of the universe. Instead of asking, "How do I make this happen?" she asks, "What frequency am I in?" When her heart is calm, things align. When her energy is clear, doors open. When she moves in rhythm, the world responds in melody. If I had to name one living example, it would be Jane Goodall. She wasn't just a primatologist, she embodied a soul in synchrony with life. When she left England for the Gome forest, she had no degree, no fame, no plan, but she followed an inner calling and trusted it. In 1960, when she saw chimpanzees using tools, something science believed only humans could do, she wrote, "Something inside me whispered, the world has just changed." From that moment, her life ceased to be research. It became communion with nature. She didn't choose success. Success found her because she lived at her true frequency, harmony with life. A woman with high spiritual energy is like that. She doesn't chase opportunities, she becomes the person opportunities chase. She doesn't look for signs, she is the sign. Every action, every decision emits a clear vibration, and the world simply resonates. Jung said that the self, the higher self, is the central organizing principle of the psyche. When someone reaches this synchronicity, the self doesn't live only in meditation. It lives in every gesture. How she pours tea, how she walks, how she remains silent. There's no division between spiritual life and daily life. Everything is ritual. She might be driving in traffic, yet sensing the rhythm of humanity like a symphony. She might be cooking dinner, yet feeling love flow through her hands. She lives not apart from the world, yet not consumed by it. She is in life, and life is in her. The spiritually awakened woman no longer seeks signs, because she knows that once she becomes the frequency of light, everything around her reflects it. When she loves, love appears. When she feels gratitude, the universe expands. When she trusts, the impossible happens. Jung once said, "When an inner situation is not made conscious, it happens outside, as fate." But for her, the reverse is true. When the inner is illuminated, the outer rearranges itself. If you've ever experienced strange coincidences, a song playing right when you think of someone, a door opening as you were about to give up, or a stranger saying exactly what you needed to hear, perhaps that wasn't a coincidence. It's a sign you're moving closer to the synchronized state. The woman with high spiritual energy sees every moment as a conversation between her and the universe. A falling leaf, a random sentence, a dream. All hold meaning if she's still enough to listen. She no longer asks, "What does this mean?" She feels the meaning. Because when soul and life intertwine, words become unnecessary. At the deepest level, she no longer stands apart from the flow of existence. She is the flow, where everything carries its sacred order. She doesn't chase miracles, she is the miracle. Every event, a meeting, a loss, or a silence, is part of the symphony her soul plays with the universe. As Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." The woman with high spiritual energy has awakened, and as she lives, the world awakens with her. A spiritually awakened woman is not one who escapes the world, but one who knows how to live within it without losing her soul. After everything, after she has felt, suffered, rested, and embodied presence, she walks with a different light. Not dazzling, but steady. She doesn't try to awaken others, but her very existence makes others want to be more authentic, calmer, and kinder. Her power lies not in doing much, but in the quality of her being. Every step, every gaze, every breath becomes a silent prayer for the world. She doesn't say, "I live a spiritual life," because her life itself has become a sacred ritual, where every event carries meaning, every encounter holds a message, and every silence contains wisdom. And perhaps that is the deepest mark of a high-frequency soul, when she no longer tries to become light, because she already is light. If this video resonated with while still healing isn't a mistake. It's part of the healing itself. We learn most about ourselves not in silent solitude, but in seeing our reflection in another's eyes. No one heals in isolation. We need to show up for each other to see ourselves more fully. And if you keep waiting to be okay before loving, you'll miss the miraculous transformation love brings. Yet, on this journey, there's a turn easily overlooked, when you think you're evolving, but you're trapped in an idealized image. A role that shines with light, but can become a golden cage, where you forget that you too need to be touched. Number 3, you're trapped in the archetype of the healer. You've overcome pain. You've faced childhood wounds, the cuts from past relationships, the times you lost yourself in the hunger to be loved. You've learned to stay with yourself, to listen, to embrace your inner fragments. Now, you're no longer dependent on others' emotions, no longer caught in obsessive spirals, no longer letting love define your worth. You've walked a long road, and now you've become someone who can listen to others' pain, gently illuminating their path with your own experiences. But there's something few people tell you. The healer can also become trapped in the very role they once took pride in. They no longer fall into chaotic love, but they're drawn to relationships where they are the one helping the other become better, where they don't allow themselves to be vulnerable, to need someone to lift them, to admit that they too are tired, lonely, and crave a shoulder to lean on without having to constantly strive. This is the trap of the healer archetype, a radiant image, but deeply dangerous if identified with too strongly. Jung called this inflation of the archetype, when you don't just carry the archetype within you, but let it consume your entire ego. You're no longer yourself. You're in the role, the one who's always okay, always knows the way, always ready to hold others' pain, but you no longer let anyone see your pain. From a psychological perspective, this is a reversal of defense mechanisms. Instead of avoiding emotions, you immerse yourself in the role of helper because it sustains your sense of worth. But deep down lies a fear of being hurt if you let someone help you in return. You believe, if I'm the one making others better, at least I'm still in control. At least I won't be hurt. At least I'm still useful. We see this vividly in the film Good Will Hunting. The female lead, Skylar, is a classic example of someone carrying the healer archetype. She's intelligent, empathetic, warm-hearted, and patiently listens to Will, a genius riddled with wounds and anger. Skylar loves Will with complete sincerity. She doesn't try to fix him, but unconsciously becomes the one carrying the weight of his unacknowledged shadow. Will draws her in because he's so broken. And like many with the healer archetype, Skylar gives so much: care, understanding, unconditional love. But she never truly meets Will at his deepest level, and ultimately, Will abandons her. We forget that light can also be a hiding place. Some hide in darkness, but others hide in the light of helping others, inspiring or guiding healing, just to avoid facing the unhealed parts within themselves. They become a torch for others, but dare not light their inner room. At some level, becoming the strong one, or the healer, can create a sense of power. It gives you a role, meaning, and the feeling that you're on the higher side of a moral axis. But Jung warned, any part of us inflated too much, even the good parts, risks becoming a hidden shadow. And the irony is, when the shadow hides under light, it's even harder to detect. Jung's saying, No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell, is one of the most powerful images of the inner journey. You cannot reach the heaven of connection, love, or true presence if you don't dare look at the roots you're anchored to. The unsoothed wounds, the fear of abandonment, the sense of unworthiness, the unbeautiful desires judged by the moral standards you were taught. And it's precisely there where true love begins. Not when you're clean, radiant, or all-powerful, but when you can step out to lift someone and turn inward to lift yourself. Love is meeting each other as two people living, unfinished, and full of contradictions. Look back. Are you drawn to people who always need help? Do you feel your worth only when you're the understanding one, the guide, the stronger one? Do you feel uneasy when someone wants to help you, care for you, or truly see you? If the answer is yes, you may be trapped in the healer's cloak you once proudly wore. The truth is, you don't need to stop healing. You need to return to being human. A human who can err, be weak, be sad, be angry, and need someone to love them, not because they're capable, not because they heal others, but simply because they are themselves, incomplete, unfinished, but real. You have the right to let go of that role. You have the right to not always be okay. And you deserve a love that doesn't demand you be an emotional expert, that doesn't love you for being healed. Conversations that once made you feel alive now feel like you're censoring. You no longer fall into old traps, but you also no longer feel you truly connect with anyone. Perhaps the issue isn't that you're not ready to love, but that you're avoiding touching yourself. Carl Jung called this the shadow, the rejected, suppressed, hidden part of your being, buried under the mask of the good person, the strong one, the healed one. The shadow isn't evil. It's the very human aspects you don't want to admit. Petty jealousy, the desire for control, the fear of abandonment, the longing to be noticed, to be cared for, to be the most important. It's the cry of the child who wasn't held. the impulsiveness once criticized, the anger labeled ugly and pushed to the depths of your soul. You think you've tucked it away neatly, but the shadow doesn't vanish just because you ignore it. It retreats into the depths of the unconscious, subtly steering what you call reason. It's behind the times you think you're too picky when no one seems good enough. It hides in the scrutinizing gaze, the doubt when someone loves you sincerely. It's the invisible hand making you step back whenever someone gets close. You call it intuition, but sometimes it's just a reflex of fearing to be seen too clearly. You say you can't stand childish people, but you're rejecting the child within you, the vulnerable, loving, crying child hurt for needing others too much. You build an ideal image. You're mature, calm, unswayed by emotions. But deep down is the fear of losing control, of emotions spilling over, making you unlovable or too complicated. You don't love with a beating heart. You love through a system of filters. According to Jung, this is the mechanism of projection. What you reject in yourself, you'll hate, avoid, or demand in others. You see someone emotional and call them weak because you don't allow yourself to cry. You meet someone instinctively and deem them immature because you've killed your instincts. What you don't recognize in your darkness, you'll encounter in love, but as unacceptable. If these words make you pause, leave a sign for yourself. Sometimes, a single honest share is enough to touch the darkness, quietly seeking a way out in you. This phenomenon isn't rare in relationship psychology. A common mechanism called emotional suppression often appears in adults who had to be strong too soon in emotionally unsafe environments. These people learn to control their inner world perfectly, but lose access to their softer, vulnerable side. Research shows that those who use suppression as a long-term coping strategy often struggle to form intimate relationships. Consciously, they may be choosy, seeking someone mature, stable, deep, but unconsciously, they avoid any relationship that might trigger real emotions. They withdraw not because the other isn't good enough, but from fear of being exposed, seen in a fragile, uncontrolled, unfiltered state. If you haven't faced your shadow, you'll never have a normal love, because you don't allow yourself to be normal. You always need to check, analyze, prove, avoid, elevate, to avoid touching the rawest part of love, where you're powerless, trembling, and need to be held. The shadow doesn't make you bad. It makes you divided. One part lives, the other is hidden. And love cannot harmonize with that division. It needs a real, imperfect, but unified person. Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." You may be adept at seeing pain in others, but hesitate to face your true wounds. You may understand forgiveness, healing, intergenerational trauma, but never truly sit with your emotions without judgment. Perhaps what's blocking your love isn't a lack of the right person, but a lack of courage to face the unloved parts of you. Jung wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. You don't need to be whole to love, but you need to be honest with your whole parts. You don't need to be better to be loved, but you need to see more clearly what you're hiding. Because if you don't, you'll choose love by elimination rather than with an open heart. You'll love it conditionally and call it modern standards. You'll feel a connection, but believe it's wise selectivity. You'll judge others for what you can't accept in yourself. And then love, the space meant for living authentically, becomes a stage for continuing your performance. You can't invite love into your home when parts of your room are still locked. You don't need to fling everything open in a day. But you need the first step. Gently knock on the dark door within and listen to what it says. Because only when you embrace your shadow can you truly love and be loved. But there's one thing I must warn you about. Beneath all these defense mechanisms lies a subtler layer, an outdated role you donned early on and lived with so long you mistook it for me. Number 5. You're living by an outdated archetype. We grow up not only with parents and schools, but also are shaped by invisible archetypes, social and psychological images we identify with. Some grow up with the image of a woman too early, preventing exploration of other facets of the self. You may see this in yourself. You're skilled at staying calm, but don't know how to show vulnerability. You care for others effortlessly, but struggle to accept care in return. You're the strong one in your friend's eyes, but feel lost when you need someone to see your weariness. The archetype you're living by is outdated. It once protected you, but now it isolates you. Jung called the process of moving beyond an archetype's control individuation, the path to becoming your whole self, not reduced to one role, one mask, one facet. It's when you're not just the strong one, but also the vulnerable one. Not just the rational one, but also the emotional one. Not just the giver, but also able to receive without shame. A relatable modern example. Some women, intelligent, independent, excellent at self-care, feel they don't attract love. Not because there's something wrong with them, but because they've unconsciously suppressed the lover archetype, the feminine, alluring, emotional, vibrant part. They fear being labeled weak, fragile, or dependent, so that part is buried like a flower blooming in darkness, beautiful but unseen. When love arrives, it no longer recognizes them. Because love doesn't just seek the capable, rational, or self-sufficient. It seeks the vibrant, those who smile without reason, cry when moved, surge like an unexpected summer rain. Feminine energy isn't just soft candlelight or sweet whispers. It's also a fire blazing in a deep forest, a wolf's howl calling to the moon, a primal instinct that transcends words and speaks through heartbeats. It's an energy that's restless, untamed, not always pretty. It's instinctual movement, sometimes gentle like a breath beside a pillow, sometimes fierce like a tidal wave crashing under moonlight. You don't need to abandon your strength, rationality, or kindness. But if you cling to one color, one archetype, and force yourself to repeat it like a fixed mold, you're draining your inner vitality. Because your feminine energy wasn't born to be stable. It was born to move. Femininity isn't a gentle trait confined to dresses or soft gestures. It's a deep river, sometimes a babbling brook, sometimes an undercurrent, sometimes a torrential downpour, sometimes a still lake reflecting the moon. Its essence is transformation. It doesn't stay still. It refuses to be confined. If you force yourself to live in one role forever, you're not growing. You're freezing yourself in an outdated version. Femininity needs to be stirred, renewed, shattered, melted, and reborn endlessly. Like the moon, no night is ever the same, never forever full or forever waning. A woman's allure lies not in perfection, but in vibrancy. And vibrancy means she's unafraid of change, of contradictions, of being different today than yesterday. Imagine you're a garden. You can diligently tend it, keeping every leaf in place. But if you don't allow the soil to be renewed, the trees to be pruned, the rain to soak the roots, the sun to scorch, or winter to pass through, the garden loses its life. It becomes a silent place, but soulless. Women weren't born to be complete before loving. Women were born to move through their versions of self, letting others love each one. From the passionate girl to the seasoned woman. From the rebel to the gentle soul. From understanding to primal desire. All are you. And true love comes only when you let others see that full flow, not through polished mirrors, but in the tidal waves of emotion you no longer hide. The greatest outdatedness isn't in appearance or age. It's in repeating a worn-out energy out of fear that being different means you'll no longer be loved. But the opposite is true. The more your feminine energy transforms, the more magnetic it becomes. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be real. If these words make you pause to breathe a little deeper, hit like to let me know you're still listening. And if you want to continue exploring yourself through Jung's light and the darkness of your heart, don't forget to subscribe so we don't lose each other in this stream of the unconscious. Love doesn't demand you approach it in a perfect form. It doesn't need you to be pure light, unscarred, unshaken. It only needs you to keep breathing, keep trusting, keep being honest with the corners you've secretly avoided. Love doesn't enter through the door of, "I'm okay now." It finds its way through the cracks, where you sit alone at night and admit, "I still long to be seen, even if it makes me fragile." Because the heart, like a living house, doesn't just need renovations to welcome guests. It needs to come alive. It needs the sound of footsteps crossing the threshold, the clatter of an impromptu dinner, days filled with dialogue and silent afternoons with nothing to say, the messiness, the clumsiness, the unpredictability. Because to love is to let someone touch the imperfect parts of us and stay. And so do you. You don't need to wait until you're a complete woman to open the door. You just need to start moving. and is left only with the space between herself and her inner world. That is when truth emerges like sediment settling after the water ceases to be stirred. Imagine a crystal-clear lake. If you constantly throw stones, the surface never calms enough to reflect the sky. The human mind is the same. In the crowd, amid the ceaseless flow of opinions, praises, criticisms, and comparisons, we can hardly see our own essence. But when detached from the crowd, free from the pressure to perform for others, such a woman can clearly behold the sky of her soul. And in that quietude, she is reborn. Jung emphasized that individuation is the journey of breaking free from collective molds to find the intact identity of the self. This does not mean opposing society or denying the collective, but a necessary process to avoid dissolving into shared expectations. A woman with profound spiritual wisdom understands that without knowing how to depart, she can never return to her own truth. For the crowd always tends to impose. There, everyone is encouraged to be alike, think alike, live alike. And for an awakened soul, living that way is no different from dying day by day. For example, some women, upon facing a major shock, loss, breakup, or career crisis, do not choose to dive into parties or seek comfort in the crowd. Instead, they retreat inward. They begin journaling, spending time walking alone, or even remaining silent for weeks on end. On the surface, it may seem like she is lost, but in reality, she is rebuilding herself from the roots. For in the silence, she finds the call of the soul, what Jung called the inner voice of the self. When she returns, she emerges with a steadfastness and clarity that the crowd never bestowed. It is crucial to understand that this withdrawal differs entirely from passive loneliness. Passive loneliness closes one off out of fear, out of rejection. But active solitude is a voluntary choice. The woman knows she needs space, not to escape, but to flourish. In that inner laboratory, she experiments with profound emotions, confronts the shadows, nurtures intuition, and listens to symbols rising from the unconscious. Like an artist retreating to the studio or a poet silent through the long night, her spiritual creativity requires uninvaded space. Studies on solitude show that when people spend voluntary time alone, brain regions related to creativity and problem-solving activate more strongly. It is no coincidence that many great ideas, from artworks to scientific discoveries, are conceived in moments of quiet. A woman with profound spiritual wisdom has unconsciously grasped this law from early on. She understands that silence is where secret life works. But this choice is far from easy. Family may accuse her of being too closed off, friends may think her distant, and society may label her unsociable. However, she learns to stand firm in the knowledge that withdrawal is not abandonment, but preparation. Preparation so that when she returns, she brings not fragments battered by the crowd, but a refined, intact self forged in silence. From Jung's perspective, this is an indispensable part of the individuation journey. No one can step into wholeness without daring to be alone. Paradoxically, in today's noisy society, these women become even rarer. While many are swept into the vortex of display and performance, they choose to hide away. While the world revels in flashing lights and applause, they find fulfillment in silent space. And that is what constitutes their invisible strength, the power of one who dares not need the crowd to prove her worth. Sign 4. Transforming pain into wisdom, the embodiment of the transcendent function. And precisely in those moments of quietude, a greater challenge awaits them, daring to stare directly into their deepest wounds. Instead of avoiding or fleeing, they enter it, embrace it, then transform it into wisdom. This is the path Jung called the transcendent function, the soul's capacity to reconcile contradictions, turn crises into rebirth opportunities, and transmute suffering into living knowledge. Most people fear the inner darkness. When in pain, we often seek distraction, burying ourselves in work, plunging into amusements, or self-soothing with optimistic slogans. But for women with profound spiritual strength, they do not easily abandon the pain, for they understand that pain is not an enemy, but a doorway. Hidden behind the wound is fertile ground where wisdom sprouts. Fleeing pain is no different from rejecting the seed of growth. Imagine raw metal thrown into fire. At extreme heat, it warps, melts, and seems to disintegrate. But that very process refines it, removes impurities, turning it into a more enduring alloy. Humans are the same. These women know that what seems to destroy them, loss, betrayal, breakdown, is the flame forging their essence. They do not deny the pain, but enter it like stepping into fire, emerging with a pure gold of wisdom. Jung called this the archetype of the wounded healer. Such a woman cannot merely learn healing from books. Her power comes from direct experience, prolonged sleepless nights, feelings of abandonment, helplessness, before deep past. But a soul marriage where the ego and shadow unite, creating a broader, deeper self. Thus, these women often carry a presence that makes others feel safe. Not because they are perfect or have never fallen, but quite the opposite, because they have fallen, yet risen, carrying fire from the darkness. They are living proof that one can overcome suffering without losing compassion. Their presence is like a lantern. It does not dispel the darkness, but shines enough to guide the way. And what about you? If you've ever had a pain that, in retrospect, transformed into understanding, write down a few lines. Sometimes that act alone opens the door to your own awareness. However, it cannot be denied that this journey is full of risks. Entering pain demands courage, for many may get trapped, finding no way out. The difference here is that a woman with profound spiritual strength accepts that risk as a necessary right. She knows that without descending into hell, one will never find the treasure. Jung once wrote, "No enlightenment without passing through darkness." And these women are the embodiment of that philosophy. And precisely for this reason, such women become pivotal markers in the collective journey. For each time one transforms her own pain into wisdom, she not only heals herself, but opens a path for others. Pain ceases to be personal tragedy and becomes the material of empathy, of human knowledge. Emerging from darkness with fire in hand, they not only illuminate themselves, but also carry an invisible light that can soothe others' hearts. Sign 5. The healing energy field. Jung once emphasized that in therapy, the decisive factor lies not in techniques or advice, but in the being of the person sitting across. The therapist themselves is the instrument of therapy. This holds for women with profound spiritual strength. It is they, not their words, that are the message. We often think healing requires complex methods, mystical rituals, or at least profound advice. But in truth, many have experienced this reality. Simply sitting beside someone calm and fully present brings relief. No words are needed, yet the surrounding space softens, feels less heavy. This is the power of the energy field. Such a woman does not strive to heal anyone, but the equilibrium of her soul becomes a kind of invisible music, harmonizing those souls out of tune. When someone is in a state of peace, their nervous system emits signals of safety, causing the nervous system of those nearby to naturally calm. This is a biological mechanism, but for women with profound spiritual wisdom, it becomes a living art. She enters a tense room, and gradually the atmosphere cools. She sits beside someone in panic, and with a steady gaze and slow breaths, they begin to breathe evenly again. She doesn't need to do anything, for her very being is the remedy. Imagine, for instance, a child crying intensely from an injury. An adult might rush to soothe with words like, "It's okay, don't cry." But this often fails. Even making the child feel their pain isn't allowed. But if a woman sits down, holds them close, says nothing, and lets them cry until the pain subsides, her presence itself heals. A woman with profound spiritual strength does this not only for children, but for adults too, for she knows every wounded soul needs a safe space to be acknowledged. This power makes her a kind of invisible rhythm keeper. In a group of friends during conflict, she doesn't necessarily need to speak or mediate, yet her presence softens voices. In a family where tension rises, her mere appearance, without blame or interference, calms the air. Some call this charisma, others an aura, but Jung would see it as a manifestation of a self that has reconciled its darkness and light. Having walked through suffering, faced and integrated the shadow, she no longer emanates chaos. She becomes a sanctuary for others, simply because she has become a sanctuary for herself. Think of a stringed instrument. When one string is plucked, others with matching frequencies resonate in harmony, a phenomenon of resonance. A woman with a healing energy field is that tuned string. In her presence, souls out of sync resonate and realign to balance. This is no magic but a natural law of psychology and energy. Notably, She never uses this ability as a performance. She understands energy as a sacred resource, not to be flaunted or squandered. Thus, she speaks little, acts sparingly, but her words and actions carry weight. She knows a sincere glance can heal more than a lengthy speech. Like an artist of silence, she uses simplicity to create a profound impact. In reality, this often leaves others puzzled. Many leave a meeting with her saying, "I don't recall exactly what she said, but I feel lighter." Or, "Being near her makes me feel at peace." This is the proof of a healing energy field, an invisible yet potent impact surpassing any advice. Jung would call this the power of the self, the core of being that has integrated all fragmented parts, from light to shadow. When someone lives in harmony with the self, they need not strive to influence outwardly. As resonance between the inner and outer worlds. The difference is that they do not force synchronicity to appear. They don't chase signs or obsess over messages from the universe. Instead, their inner harmony, their alignment with the self, Jung's center of being, makes them natural magnets for meaningful events. Like a magnet, when they reach inner attunement, the universe responds by sending people, situations, and opportunities that match that frequency. Picture a damp forest after rain, where thousands of fireflies initially flicker sporadically. Then, suddenly, when humidity, temperature, and biological rhythms align, the entire forest pulses in unison. No signal sent, only harmony occurring. This woman is that rhythmic anchor. When her inner world aligns, the flashes of the outer world synchronize, meaningful coincidences, timely encounters, doors opening at the right moment. Without chasing, she is in the right place at the right time. Jung called this a non-causal connecting principle, meaning not everything is linked by direct cause and effect. Sometimes, events physically separate are bound by a layer of meaning. A woman living in this flow doesn't overanalyze, for she knows meaning is the universe's own language. When meaning resonates within, that is signal enough. From a scientific view, skeptics may call this selective attention, noticing more of what we focus on. But what sets these women apart is not just seeing signs, but acting in harmony with them. They neither obsess nor depend, using synchronicity as a complementary map, blended with reason and intuition. This fusion gives their lives a flowing rhythm, as if guided by an invisible hand. Interestingly, many ancient cultures recognized this principle. The Greeks called it kairos, the divine moment where time meets human readiness. Eastern traditions speak of the Tao, the natural flow that those who align with it find everything arriving on time. Jung, in psychological terms, named this experience synchronicity, and a woman with profound spiritual wisdom is its living embodiment. However, Jung also warned of a risk. Not every coincidence is synchronicity. Sometimes the eager ego clings to any sign to fulfill desires. Through deep self-awareness, this woman learns to distinguish the universe's true voice from the ego's illusions. This discernment keeps her from delusion, preventing her from seeing every random event as fate, maintaining clarity in her trust in invisible guidance. And this clarity makes her life proof that the sacred need not be sought. It finds those ready to receive it. When your inner world is aligned, you don't chase signs, they come to you. When you no longer crave to prove your uniqueness, your life unfolds like a mythic tale. Perhaps this is why people describe these women as having uncanny luck. But it's not luck, it's resonance. They are like polished mirrors, reflecting the precise light needed, and thus the universe cannot help but respond. It is a secret dialogue between soul and world. Ultimately, these invisible hallmarks are not for display, but the quiet essence of a soul choosing to live true to its depths. Their strength comes not from clamor, but from harmony between inner and outer worlds. Their influence is not measured in numbers, but felt in the calming of space when they are present. Jung showed that when the unconscious and conscious find a shared voice, life ceases to be disjointed events and becomes a meaningful, clear, luminous story. These women need no pedestal. They stand firm in themselves. They need no validation, for truth manifests through how they live. And that reminds us, returning to your true self is not escaping life, but entering it with deeper presence. If these words resonate with you, leave a mark with a like. And if you wish to join us on this journey of exploring the soul's depths through Jung's lens, subscribe to the channel. For perhaps each meeting is itself a meaningful coincidence between you and the wisdom awaiting to be awakened.